Hi, friends. Hello, hello, hello. I have one comment already from Wickershire who says, woo, reading the description, very cool. I have a few things planned for tonight's conversation. I've made myself a little bit of a script. I don't know if other YouTubers make themselves a script or not, but I figured that would help me to stay on track when I get distracted tonight because, I get distracted. One of the things I wanted to talk about first off tonight was, yep, and there it's gone. I wanted to talk about plans I have for the homestead this year. My husband and I walked around the property a few days ago, and hi, CR, and yes, Will has commented already. I've walked around the property with my husband a few days ago. The weather here has been absolutely gorgeous. We had plus 15 degrees Celsius today. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, probably 65-ish. It was just gorgeous. Hi, Dave. Love to hear the greenhouse plans. Yeah, I might have to pick your brain and come up with some ideas too. And CR is saying hi, Dave. I'm starting off with I generally break my chats into half-hour segments so that I can manage it and not run out of things to talk about by trying to just stick to one topic. So for now, we are 16 is 60. Okay, so it was 15 here, so a little less than 60 degrees Fahrenheit. 2024. What have you got planned for your garden or your property for 2024? This year we have plans to expand our gardens, and that's a big deal. We're going from a 28 by 12. Yes, 28 by 12 to a 20 by 30. So we're going from 336 square feet up to 600 square feet just on one garden. And 22. Oh, I'm so jealous. That's t-shirt weather. All the trees must be blooming and your grass must be greening up. We're still soppy wet here, but there's no snow. Everything's melted. The ground is still frozen. So you know that 2 or 3 inches on top that's starting to defrost. Hi, Will. You're back. That slippy, slimy, slippery stuff. We're trying not to move the tractor around too much right now because it'll just tear up the ground. And there's not much else we can do except for plan. And it was, house was 78, no heat, and the outside was 73. Wow. We don't have that here yet. But this is only March. This is actually what should be our coldest time of the year. We might be able to start getting a little bit warmer so we can get maple syrup done, but I think we're still 2 weeks early for even that, and the season's done. I had some maple. I have one tree. It's a double tree, and I tapped that, and I didn't even get 3 liters of sap out of it, so that's like half a cup of syrup. So I just dumped it. It wasn't even worth boiling it off. I don't know how much Dave got, but he said that his trees, he was done a couple of weeks ago too. Put the seedlings out. Oh my goodness. I haven't even started my seedlings yet, but I know it's time to get my peppers in. I was talking to a lady today who actually, I took one of her gardening courses, and she said she's got her peppers already started, but she's a little bit north of me. She's up near Denby, where some of our friends are. Me and You Acres and Denby View Ranch and Plowman's Backyard are all in the Denby area, and their season is just a little like 2 weeks, a week or two shorter than ours is. And Will says, Buttercup and Fern Homestead just planted the second 72 cell tray. Lots and lots of lettuce types. Lettuce would be good. And Jane says, I'm going to grow artichokes and a dark green winter squash. I will plant more berry bushes. See, that's one of the things that's on our plan for this year is my plan. Whether the hubby's on plan with this or not, I want to get more fruit. We found. Hi, Jody. Weather in the toilet here. 4 days of snow every day for the past 4 inches of snow every day for the past 3 days. Yeah, Saskatchewan got pounded with snow too. They got a foot of snow in like 12 hours or something. Denby is a homesteader's paradise. Apparently it is a homesteading YouTuber's paradise too. It's cold here too. And you know what? They're north of Highway 7. They're in the Canadian Shield in Denby. They're in the Canadian Shield. They're north of Highway 7, and they're just into that extra ridge where it switches from a 5 or a 4B into a 4. They're just a little bit colder, and their plant hardiness will be different. And and it's cold in Saskatchewan. Yeah. However, CR said it's cold. It's cold here too. However, it's supposed to be warm up later this week. Woot woot. Yeah, ours is 15 today was the high, and we're probably going to have 7 or 8 most of the week. It'll go down to 0 a few times, but we are above 0, above freezing mark for the daytimes for the next 2 weeks, the 14-day forecast. Getting some berry bushes. I have a rhubarb that came up out of nowhere, and I don't know if it's going to survive or not. And if we're expanding this garden up to 600 square feet, it's actually in that garden. So oh, Kim, hi. Welcome. So if we expand that garden, I would like to keep the rhubarb intact for this season because I haven't been able to harvest off of it yet. I only discovered it last year and I got like 3 stems out of it. But if I disturb it, I'd like to do that after it's produced something this year. I did plant asparagus when we first moved in, and we've been here since the fall of 2021. So I'd like to see, you're welcome. Please just hang out, chat. Jody's here, and all kinds of other people are here. So have a good chit chat. So asparagus is, I planted 6 crowns, and I've had 3 of the plants go to fern last year, but I didn't plant it in a good area. I didn't actually create a proper bed, and it hasn't been weeded ever. So I'm hoping that I can get in there and pull some of the grasses off of it this year and get, even just 1 meal of asparagus would thrill me. But I think I should get some more asparagus crowns or try starting them from seed. Starting them from seed's a little more challenging, I understand. So I can just go to Walmart or Canadian Tire or whatever and get asparagus crowns, and I'll start another bed and maybe move those other ones again after they've done their production for the year. I'd like to get blueberries. We have a stand of about 40 pine trees. So I know I can get the pine duff if I want to acidify the soil. And Kim says, grew some up at the trailer. Took 2 years to get a few. Yeah, it's a long start, but once it gets started, they'll start multiplying. And Pam says, hi, everyone. Hi, Pam. And CR says he's eaten some microgreens. And yeah, look there's a CR in the middle of microgreens. Sierra says, hi, everybody. So blueberries will be on the plans for this year, I think. We did discover last year we were clearing out some just an area of trees that was overgrown and really doesn't serve any purpose where it was. And I don't even know exactly why the guys decided that they just wanted to clear that out. Oh, part of it was so that we could have a satellite signal from the house down to the outbuilding. And we've got a booster so that we can get satellite signal down in my craft studio. We have 2 retired school portables on the property, and they're joined end to end. So it's together, it's about 1,500 square feet. In a heated and insulated outbuilding, and one of the portables needs some renovation because of mold, but still the other half is fine, and it needed internet so I could do my crafting. So they were clearing out this section of trees so that the signal could get through, and while they were doing that, they took down a bunch of sumacs and other things, basswood, which it's a little sad they took out the basswood. It's a little sad they took out some of the oak trees. But they found an apple tree while they were taking everything else down. And we also have choke cherries. The birds, I discovered the choke cherries. I was learning what the details of the choke cherries. And I went down there the next day, birds took them all. So they were totally gone. And I got 3 teeny tiny little apples off of 3 or 4 tiny apples off of the tree last year, but it had been surrounded by sumac and a couple of oak trees. So we're going to prune it. Actually, in this next coming week, we're going to get down there and prune the apple tree. And because it looks like it's been untended for decades. And it's just young. I mean, the largest branch is no bigger around than your wrist, right? It's just a young tree. I think that's even that's extreme. The trunk of the tree might only be as big around as my arm. And when we moved into the property, there's a few rebar poles marking the property line, not even T-posts, but just rebar poles. So great for a tractor to run over and get caught up underneath. But there was one tree standing in amongst that stuff, and it just looked brittle, like you touched it and the branches broke right off. But we found out last year that there's actually new growth on it. So we're going to go down there again this week while it's still cool enough and trim off some of the dead branches, and we probably should put some chicken wire around it to keep the deer back and allow for the deer's neck. We're going to have to make like an 8-foot circle around the darn thing just to keep the deer off of it. But I'd love to be able to get those 2 apple trees producing. We can buy apple trees for about $40. So I'd like to get that too. It's just a matter of timing and finding out who's got them, and I'm not even fussy about what species they are or it's not breed. I don't care what strain they are. I just want apples. I would love to have some Spy or Cortland or something for baking and preserving, but just apples. Dan would rather have something for eating fresh, but we can't go through them fast enough if we just have a tree full of fresh. I have to have something I can work with. Last year, we did have a neighbor whose father passed away on the road, and the property is full of apple trees. There's got to be 15 trees, and these things are massive. So think about these trees are probably 15 feet across. They're tall, and they're huge, and they're producing apples that are the size of a baseball. Size of a softball. And I do like when apple trees flower. Well, we're going to be looking for that here soon. I'll try to get some photographs of it. That would be wonderful. And Jane W., will I meet all of you at the conference in Denby on May 4th? I will be there. I'm hoping my hubby will be with me, but I will be there because I've made so many friends with this group of creators that I definitely will be there again. I was there last year, but it would be nice to see everybody again. Reminds me of a really big white peony. So we're expanding our garden, and we're working on the perennial things, the fruit trees, the rhubarb, the asparagus, all of that. And we have another garden that is, I don't even know how big it is. It's large. And it's basically 6 beds that are 30 inches wide and 25 feet long, probably. And we're going to expand that too. Actually, what we've got it all lined up, and then there's a big section between the garden and the private lane that's here. Hi, Remy. So we're going to, my hubby wants to expand that. I think that would probably be something we can do next year, because there's only so much you can do early in the season and get it all in there. What we could do is make one bed and just fill it with squash and let it spread across the lawn, so he doesn't have to mow so much. There's enough room there that we could almost triple that garden. So we could, I can't even estimate how many feet it is. It's kind of misshapen, and the rows are different lengths because of a hill that's in there. But if we expand it as big as Dan wants to, it's going to be almost triple. And then we have a half to 3/4 of an acre down the hill that we were working last year, and we don't have water down there. I would love another rhubarb. Then I can definitely relocate it. That would be sweet. That would be sweet. Yes, please. But the garden down the hill, I just saw something move outside. The garden down the hill is huge, but there's no water. There's no hoses down there or anything. So if we want to take water down there, I end up loading up one of those big garbage cans, Tough Mate or Rough Mate or whatever they're called, a Rubbermaid rough tote. And I put that in a garden cart, and then I drag that down behind the lawnmower, the riding mower, and use the watering cans to water the garden physically, but that's way too big to do that. And then that's it for gardens. I've got some exciting project that's going to start very soon. We have an incubator, and we have Canadian breast roosters and Canadian breast chickens, and we set the divider between we have a really huge chicken run. It's 16 by 20, and we divided it down the 16. So right now it's 2 sections that are 8 by 20, and the chicken coop also has a divider in it. So in the winter they can come and go between the 2 coops, but then we close it, and we can separate for breeding purposes. We're going to be breeding they do the breeding themselves. We're going to be incubating some Canadian breast eggs. And if you don't know what the specialty about Canadian breasts, they're from Brest, France originally, and a breast chicken feast, like a chicken, that can sell for $100. For in a restaurant, you pay $100 for chicken. These birds have blue legs, and the meat is reported to be so that they fatten up differently. They get marbling in the meat, so that they're just a tastier meat. These are supposed to be the king of the chickens. So I got them last year, and I bought a dozen, and we had 9 roosters. Would love a huge run and better coop build with an egg rollout nest. We don't have a rollout nest. We just have the nest box built inside. When I was building the coop, I designed the coop. My son and I built it. It's 4 by 8 floor, but it's raised 30 inches. So it's on a platform frame. And so it's 30 inches high. It's got a human access door that's as tall as I am. And I can get in there with a rake and I can move things around, but I can put the wheelbarrow right up to the door. And then I scrape everything out into the wheelbarrow. Yes. Yes. Wow. The breast breed. Living Traditions has them. Yes. That's where I first heard about them. And I did a bunch of research after that. And I'm loving them. We also, I don't know if some of you are from Ontario, so you may know who Frey's Hatchery is. We got our first 6 chickens from Frey's, and they are called Sasso, which is it's like a brand name. There's Sasso Scarlet and Sasso Ivory, and I guess they're like a hybrid. They are a dual purpose, but they are nowhere near as big as these breasts are. My girls might be 3 or 4 pounds, but my breast rooster's got to be 7 pounds. He is massive. Though I've got 2 of them, but they're massive. And last year I harvested the 7 of the 9 roosters, and I got 5-pound birds in the freezer, 5.5-pound birds in the freezer, and that's after they're cleaned and processed. They're still 5.5 pounds, and that was like 16 or 17 weeks old. They should have been harvested a little younger than that, but wow. And being part of the breast breeding groups and the different groups that want to talk about this specific breed, some of the people are looking at my pictures of my birds and saying, wow, that's, don't breed for size. And the truth is, we lost one of our girls and we have no idea why. She was the biggest of our girls. She's huge. And we think she just died of a heart attack because she was out running around with all the other birds free ranging. And then we put them in, and hubby went and checked on them about half an hour later, and she was just laying there dead. So she wasn't showing any signs of illness or anything. So we think she probably had a heart attack just because she was so big. And Remy says, I love my 6 and 7 pound chickens. Rem, what breed do you have? The breast has a very large comb, and these guys are getting the males have been getting frostbite on some of the tips of their combs, and it's showing more this week than it has shown all winter. So I don't know if it's just that it's starting to heal now. They're starting to turn black instead of just being slightly white. They're meat kings. So are you getting Cornish cross, or are you getting Rangers? My birds, these are not meant to be, well, these are a dual purpose bird because they're also laying a 60 or 70 gram egg, so a decent large size egg. But I only have 2 of the females now, and because I had 3, right? And then I've got two female, 2 male. So I divided the group up with the preferred male. And then when they've hatched, they're white, but they don't lay. Yeah, you probably have something like the Cornish cross. They always die on their own before you get to harvest them. I lost my thought. Okay, done enough talking about my chickens. So we're going to be breeding chickens or incubating and hatching out some chickens and making plans for the future generations. So that means I have to build a coop. I have a coop, and like I said, I've divided it, but I'm going to make a brooder. No, I mean they die before they're laying, because you harvest them before they're 5 or 6 months old. Yeah, that makes sense. So because I'm going to be having chicks, I have to build a coop to put the chicks in, and I'm just going to build something small that fits inside. When we moved here, there was what do you call it? A dog kennel, a dog run. It's chain link fence, and I'm going to put that thing together, and we just never found a use for it. It's not great for our dog. So we're going to put the thing together, and we're going to put hardware cloth around it, and we're going to put the babies inside of that until it's time to move them into the other. But being a metal dog run, we can take it apart. I kept them only for 5 weeks last year. I buy them at 3 weeks old. Wow. So you don't have them for very long at all, but you have a family to feed. So that works well. I thought that you could take those meat birds to about 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, but you do what you got to do, right? And if you're losing them because of health conditions like being overweight, their legs start to break and they start having heart attacks, then you got to harvest them younger. So gardens, another garden, incubating, building this coop and run out of the dog kennel thing. And what else? Oh yes, water catchment. Sorry, I'm looking. I have my notes right here. Yeah, I kept 2 for an extra 2 weeks and they ended up being 9 pounds. That's a feast. That could probably feed your family all at once. Rem's got a bunch of kids, 5 kids, I think. So there's a little rotisserie chicken from the grocery store is not going to feed that crowd. So Karen is going to be busy. Yes, Karen is going to be busy. Last year I had a health crisis, and I'm hoping to work. I'm feeling better, and I'm hoping to work my way into the heat and get this stuff done before the end of May, before we get swamped and bombarded with the heat. And Rem says, yeah, we usually have a bit of leftovers, just enough for Dad to take a chicken sandwich to work the next day. Darn it, water catchment. My brain is not holding on to anything. Water catchment. We have somebody gifted us a big rain barrel, a garbage can style with a hinge lid and just that size. It's taller, and like one of the big wheeled garbage cans. It's about that size. And it's got the spigot on the bottom, and it's got the little hole in the top of the lid, and it's got a screen on it to keep debris out and all of that. We have a 16-foot long chicken coop, and we've got eaves troughing. We had to have all the eaves troughing replaced on the house because they weren't put on properly. And that water catchment off of the roof of the chicken coop would be good. And we have a shed right beside it. So the two come down, and they're about 10 or 12 feet apart. So 2 water catchment systems would be great right there. But the roofs are only 16 by 8, 30 gallon. Is a garbage can 30 gallons? It might be 50 gallons. And Sandra, hi. So setting up the eaves troughing, attaching the eaves troughing, and setting up the downspouts so that we have some water catchment between my island, what we call it the island garden because it's in the middle of a circular driveway, between the island garden and the garden on the hill. It'd be nice to have rainwater. I'd like to, oh, hello, Leanna. I'd like to have, a plumber come and install an outdoor spigot. Our house has got a whole home system, and if we could get an outdoor spigot just directly from the well, from the pump outdoors, then that might give us more minerals in our water. I'm sure I mentioned this last week, but it's a matter now of calling the landlord, or not the landlord. Oh, wow. Calling a plumber and getting that done. Leanna, I'm glad you're here. Sandra, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for popping in. I'm quickly going, well, it's been half an hour. I'm going over some of the things we want to do, like expanding the garden and putting in fruit trees and pruning our apple trees and incubating my chickens and all of that. And we're considering rabbits. It's going to cost me about $1,500 to get started. between building the hutches and the enclosures and getting the food and getting the rabbits and all of that stuff, building nesting boxes. And that's just with 3 adults. And Rem said, I pruned my apple tree yesterday. Yeah, we're going to be doing ours this week. It needs to be done now. I was telling everybody that these trees have been neglected, and they're really small trees. Like the whole tree is only as big around as my arm. And they've been neglected for probably a decade. So I want to get on that. Well, it's before they start to blossom and go to leaf. They haven't even started to bud yet. So I know now is the time. Yeah. And I want to paint my chicken coop and put some trim on it and make it look attractive. Right now, it just looks like a wooden box. And it's brown, and Dan says it looks like a pile of turds sitting out there. So if I paint it, put trim on it and paint it in, a nice color and put some white trim on it, it might not look so bad. And we have an opportunity to get a carport, one of those portable garage things. A neighbor had a person living with them, and they bought it and put the frame up and then never ever put the canopy over it. But the canopy's been laying out in the ground in the grass for however long, at least the entire winter. So I don't know what kind of condition it's in. Leanna says, too much snow to do anything in the garden today. We got about 12 inches over the weekend. And Sandra says, and have happy chickens. Yes, I hope to have happy chickens. So we're getting this carport thing for $50. And when you buy them brand new, they are like $500. So getting this thing for $50 is going to be sweet. We don't, at least it's not dry. That's right. Leanna is in an area that tends to have drought. They've had drought for a few years. So having the snow is going to be good for the area. So from this carport thing that we've got, we're going to build ourselves a high tunnel. We want silkies badly. The older flock would just be outright mean to them. Would they? I don't know. I know somebody mentioned earlier, Living Traditions Homestead. They have silkies and they have breasts now. And I think they do keep the breasts separate, but the silkies are with their geese and their ducks. My greenhouse is an old carport frame, I'm guessing she means, and recycled greenhouse plastic. What is a high tunnel, Sandra? A high tunnel is very much like a greenhouse, but a greenhouse is automated. It's got automatic windows, and it's good for ventilation, and it's got a furnace, and it's got a big fans, and it tends to be glass or harder plastic. And a high tunnel is a tunnel of plastic. It's also sometimes called a polytunnel. And they don't tend to have the electricity. They're not as automated. If you want to have a ventilation window, you have to do it manually or have it set on a timer so that it does it itself. Now, I might run an extension cord out to it and set it up somewhere where it's not going to be exposed to the water and humidity of a greenhouse that's going to be inside the greenhouse. But that's yet to be decided. I have my son Kyle coming here this weekend, and we're going to clear the land where we're going to put it. Right now we get wicked winds whipping through here, and we always worry about things not surviving the windstorms or the blasts that we get. And what we've got is our shed, and we're going to put it at the back end. So our shed's this way, I guess. We're going to put it at the back end of the shed so that it's protected from the west inward, protected from the west end so it doesn't get direct blast. There's also a giant Manitoba maple there, what is it, box elder? And that's going to provide some windbreak in the wintertime and in the height of summer, but in the springtime, there's no leaves on it, so that the high tunnel will warm up. But then in the winter, in the height of summer, it's going to get sunlight only in the morning, and then it will be shaded later on in the afternoon. Probably from noon on, it'll be shaded. My chickens are jerks to each other. I understand a pecking order, but they chase the length of a football field. Our girls are pretty good. They'll intimidate, and they'll give a quick peck, maybe, and then the other birds take off. There's the victims are, they duck and cover real fast, and they know how to get out of the way. So Sandra says, "Oh, I see. Okay, so one's ventilated and automated and heated and all of that, and the other one's just plastic." Yeah, you have crazy winds there too. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Especially if you're near the coast at all, you'd get ocean strength winds. I guess I have a high tunnel. So I would love to hear from you guys. Do you use in-ground beds in your high tunnel or greenhouse, or do you have a table with beds on top of it? Or do you build in the ground, or do you have a mix? Do you have containers? What is it how have you got yours set up? Because I'm looking for ideas. I have, because it's going right next to the shed, I will be able to put electricity, just an extension cord that'll go underneath and then up. And our main culprit here is a little bantam hen. She's tiny, but rules the bigger hens. And see, if you already have a bantam, you might be fine to put her with the silkies. Remy says, I have small garden beds. How big is your, let's call it a greenhouse. How big is your greenhouse, Remy? I think this thing is 25 feet long. It's huge. We have one for our, I think this one we've got is 15. 10 by 15 that we can fit our tractor and our riding mower and our snow blower and a bunch of gas cans. And that's right here. And it's plenty big enough. But this other thing is huge. 10 by 11. Yeah, see, now our neighbor told us that this young guy bought this thing for his ATVs. He said, oh, it's not very big. And I thought, okay, ATVs, it might be a 10 by 10, maybe 10 by 15. This thing's massive. Like, it's 5 of the overhead bars. So it's just huge. Remy's got 2 of them. 11 by 10, I think. And the other one is 4 by 6. Now I have it's tubes, and it's probably, maybe 2.5 by 1.5. It's just little. You would put it on a balcony, and then it's got a green plastic cover that goes over it. Rem says, I also want to convert an old Tempo frame into one. That's what we're getting, is the Tempo frame. But here, the brand name is, anyways, it's one of those temporary winter garage things. That's what we've got. And we paid $50 for it. Raised beds sitting on 2-inch styrofoam to keep the frost out, of 10-inch compost on top. Raised beds on styrofoam. So is that a wooden box on top of the styrofoam, or is the styrofoam the bottom of it, like the dirt on the styrofoam? And 10 inches of compost on top. Dave, is yours a proper greenhouse, or is it a high tunnel? And we lay down weed barrier. We sit 3 to 5 gallon grow pots in rows. Then we run the drip lines, and then set the hoops up and cover with bug netting. Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask about too. And CR, do you have a high tunnel, or you're just going straight in the ground? So as we're building this, we have the option of making roll up sides. So the top will be solid, but we could put on a roll up side by a big pole or a big a long pipe or a 2x2, and then roll the plastic up and have a latch at the, or a cord or something at the top to hold the side up. And that'll allow the breeze to go through, but I will need some of the heat to get out and the humidity to get out if it's too moist. But that will allow me to, or if I do that, I also have to put bug netting over top of it. I'll have to put on row covers to keep out the butterflies, because cabbage moths are a nightmare. We also have shade cloth, 40%. It's going to get silly hot here. Yeah, I don't think that we'll have shade cloth because it's just an additional expense. And I might only use the high tunnel to get seeds started and then to extend the season at the end. And the months, July and August might not have, and beginning of September might not have anything in it. Be sure to consider a shade cloth. Yeah, I'll consider it, but because it's behind a tree, I might not have to. And behind a shed. Jane says, mine was just put up by local market garden. I was planning on in-ground beds after rototilling. Right now, I have a black tart over the grass. I'm guessing that's supposed to be tarp over the grass, 8 by 20. Okay. On point, shade cloth. Oh, excuse me. High tunnel with power and water inside and solar for the fans. Oh, solar fans. I didn't even consider that. Solar fans. Hey, Jody, if you're still here, have you gotten your package yet? Sandra has gotten hers. Dave got his. Leanna got hers. I don't know I hope I didn't miss anybody. I didn't get any other I didn't see any other emails or addresses or anything. Okay, so I had some points about the greenhouse I wanted to ask. And Sandra says, I love it. Leanna got hers. And Sandra says, I love it. And Wickershire Will says, normal summer temps are 78 to 94, which is 25 to 34. And we get about 34 or 35 here. At least we did last year. Oh, okay, Jody says, I haven't been to the post office for a few days. Leanna got hers Wednesday, I think. So she's almost as far away as you are. Do any of you have roll-up sides on yours? And what do you think of them? And do you have a table in it? I'm thinking of, because it's so long, it's so big, I'm thinking of doing a raised bed, like in ground, but raised bed. So it'll be basically a framed bed along one side. And then I would probably do container plants along the other side. We have, when we came here, there were some big black water troughs on the side of the garden that we're going to be expanding. So we'll be taking those out of there, probably emptying the soil so we can move them and emptying them out, moving them. And I can move those right into the greenhouse. Then I have basically bathtubs, half the size of a bathtub that I can, hello, Helena. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Welcome. So I'll be moving these tubs. Like I said, they're about half the size of a bathtub. They're water troughs. And I can put those in one side of my, down one. Oh, a short video on the greenhouse today. I'll have to go look at that. And you use PVC pipes to roll up the sides. See, that's what I was thinking, is the pipes. And once you roll it up, if you've got a loop at the top, you can just stick a loop over it. Shelter Logic, that might be who the things are made by. The Tempo Garage might be made by Shelter Logic. I'll have to consider the greenhouse or the shade cloth. I am considering weed fabric for the floor of my greenhouse. so that it helps to keep the weeds down, and it helps to keep some of the mud down, and all of that. Roll-up sides are great for harvest access if it's a wide beds inside. Ultra worried about bugs. The solar fan sounds perfect to push air, right? I'm interested in that solar fan too. I'll have to find out about that. So raised bed, but framed on one side, and the tubs on the other side, and probably a desk or a table or something like a potting bench at the back, because it's going to be right next to the back of the shed. There's going to be like maybe 6 inches between them, and just enough to get in there and attach the plastic and then leave it. But that's not, it's the peak of the shed and the peak of the high tunnel. Sorry, I'm losing my words here. So it's not a slope side of either one. So there shouldn't be a whole lot of snow falling off in there or anything that's going to damage it. It's the peak end of both of them. I'm processing a whole lot of thoughts, and there are reasons why it's got to go a certain way, and you logic your way through it and makes sense. My fan is out of a 2006 Taurus 12 volt that got me into solar. Well, that's much more mechanical than I can get into. I'd have to buy a pre-manufactured one, because I don't think I could convert a car fan with a battery into my solar. I'd have to buy something. We do have a solar charger for the fence, so we do have that capability already here. And yes, Epic Dave. Some of Dave's videos are I think there's some, they're very motor driven. I think that there's a stock, not stock car races. Is there drag racing in your videos, Dave? For some reason, I think there's some drag racing videos there. Definitely automotive stuff. I don't have a moderator, so I can't even ask anybody to put a link in without having trouble. So Shelter Logic is a manufacturer of the carports. Shipping of shade cloth equals shade cloth ox. Yes, I can imagine. And Dave says, yep. I can imagine even moving the Shelter Logic out of the vehicle into the yard so we could assemble it. We had to take it apart and take the tubes and everything out of it because it was such a beast. And now this one we're getting, like I said, the cover, the tarp for this thing has never been put on it. I think this young guy was trying to assemble it by himself, and he could barely move the tarp because it's just a beast. So he probably got frustrated and left it. He didn't even put all of the poles on it. So we're going to go down there and retrieve that on the weekend. We were supposed to do it today, but we didn't feel up to ripping the thing apart. So we'll get a young person to come and help us on the weekend and get some extra hands in there to do it. It's mucky where it is too. So retrieving that's going to be a bit of a, can't put a ladder up because it'll sink in the mud. Maybe you could stand on a box or something, like, I don't know, some kind of, a step stool might work, because then if the step stool goes, you can jump off of it more easily than jumping off of a ladder. And so many things. I don't know what thickness of plastic to get. We just found it. We just decided on this. I can't say we just found out, but we just decided on this in the last 3 or 4 days. So my brain is just whirling and whizzing about how I'm going to throw together this greenhouse high tunnel thing. Make sure you have many hands for putting the poly on. They can become a sail in the right wind. Yes. And I love my husband dearly, but we tend to wait for things for the weekend. And sometimes the weekend is not going to be the best weather. We might have to go out there on a Tuesday afternoon because it's still as can be and get it done, or get out there early Saturday morning or Sunday morning and get it done before the winds pick up. We're just going to have to watch the weather forecasts. And luckily, being so automated now with the weather forecasts, you're not just getting it from the radio. You can go into the app and you can look in and see what the wind speeds are going to be. We have to find a day when the wind speeds are 5 or nothing. And a foggy day would be great, because when it's foggy, it's not windy, but that means that it's misty outside. But we have to plan. We have to figure all of that out. And I want to get the ground set up before I put the vinyl or the plastic over the top, so that it's, decent. Another thought I had is, if we get rabbits, I might want that door going into the polytunnel wide enough so that we can move the rabbit hutch in for the winter. I don't want to overwinter babies, but I can put in my breeding trio, a male and 2 females, and I can put them in there for the winter. That's going to protect them. And rabbit poop is fantastic for the garden, so I'll put a catchment of some sort underneath of it. And thank you, Rem. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up. And CR says, maybe bring an anchor just in case. Yes, I've seen a few methods for anchoring them down. You can put down foot-long bolts into the ground, and I've seen somebody else use almost like a piece of rebar, but it had a cap on the end of it so that they could actually attach different things to it. And there's a few ideas. I saw somebody build a wooden frame, and they did use rebar. They brought it down level, and so they buried it 18 inches into the ground, and then they used it's the stuff that's flexible, and it's got holes all through the length of it, and you can put screws on it, and it clamps onto wood to go around a pipe. It's not exactly a pipe clamp. That's not the right word. It's more like pipe tape or something, but it's not pipe tape either. Clamp tape or something. Buy UV greenhouse plastic and wiggle wire. Now, the wiggle wire would have to go in the channel though, right? You'd have to have the pipe for the wiggle wire to fit in. That would be an option. I've seen a lot of people actually just sandwich the plastic between 2 pieces of wood strapping. My guy put a wood frame around the perimeter, many hands for plastic. Yes, that's what I'm thinking, is the wooden frame. Just like putting a tarp over a tent, just larger and heavier. Pipe strapping. There you go, pipe strapping. Leanna knows what I'm talking about. She used to work in a hardware store years and years and years ago. Pipe strapping. But it's flexible, right? So you can put that, and they use that against a piece of wood to hold the whole thing down. So anchoring is something we have to look into, and flooring and beds and tables, and making the door big enough to put to move a rabbit hutch in. And I want to have some windows on the top. I don't know if they're going to be an actual glass window, or if it's going to be just a wooden panel that can open and close as I see fit. It'd be awesome if it was something I could just have on a rope. It goes through a hoop, and then pull on it to open it, and let it go to close it. But I need to be able to, excuse me, I need to be able to reach it so that I can latch it. I have rebar at each corner, 12-inch nails as well. Yeah, it needs to be really solid and really well anchored, especially against the winds. I've also seen somebody, one of the ones I was looking at today, they drove they drove 4x4s down the center of the canopy, and then they attached the top to the 4x4s. I don't think I'll do that. That takes up too much floor space. Excuse me. Oh, I haven't spoken this much except for my live streams. I haven't spoken for an hour straight for a long, long time. When I was a grocery cashier, I could talk, every customer was 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. And if you're doing that for 8 hours, you barely catch a breath. But I was that cashier that I could talk anybody's ear off. An old baby change table works well for a potting bench. You can cut a hole and insert a tub for your soil. What a great idea. What a great idea. And it's the right height. It's designed to be that workable counter height, right? And it's smaller than we have a huge desk here that I was going to put in there just to get it out of visual. But I've been told that, no, you're not having that. That's for my woodworking. So I bought used lumber from a demo company, 12-foot wood for cheap. Well, I'll have to look into that. Now, here I can get pine slab. When there's someone who's milling, I can get the pine slab. That's not going to be as structurally appealing. Yes, and storage underneath as well. Exactly. Now, I do have an old barbecue. Maybe now I will use that old barbecue and convert it to something, because that could hold a lot of soil in it. If I lined it, I could, and then I can also close it and keep the humidity out of it. And that's got me thinking. There's always Home Hardware and Home Depot and Lowe's, or whatever Lowe's became Rona. We've got those not close by. The nearest one is 25 minutes. The furthest, or the next one, would be 40 minutes. And then after that, we're going right into Kingston. Excuse me. And if you're dragging a trailer behind you, you don't want to go any further than necessary. But I also want to build words are escaping me tonight. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking the pallets, and that's all I can think of is pallet. Compost heap, compost bin. With at least 3 sides with pallets. I'd love to have it if I had 2 bins, but for now, yes, old barbecue makes a great biochar maker. Yes, it can be converted to a smoker quite easily too, but we've been here for 2 years and we just haven't done anything with it. And it's a beautiful stainless steel cabinet, and the bottom actually has a front and a back on it, and it's a beautiful cabinet, but the guts inside are completely rusted out. And I don't think you can even get the pieces for it. We bought ourselves a cheaper barbecue. Like, it was still $300, but we bought ourselves a barbecue last season. Why do they not put a back on your barbecue? Like, there's doors on it, but there's no back to it. Is it supposed to be against the wall? What if you're facing it? We've got a wooden house. We don't have it right next to the house. It's out at the edge of the deck, facing the yard instead. And then you can see it from the door too. You can see what the temperature is and all of that. My wife and I are talking about knocking out biochar this week, as we need to assemble our super soil. Okay, you guys have to enlighten me about biochar. What is going on with biochar? I don't know what that is. I'm thinking charcoal, and is that good for the garden in some way? Maybe to acidify or to change the pH balance somehow? What do you use biochar for? I know I've heard of using ash in the garden, but we don't have a wood stove or anything like that, so we're still stuck on that. But building a compost bin, a compost frame, we have straw all over the bottom of our chicken coop right now, and because it's pretty muddy, and by putting the straw down, they've got something to walk on, and it's got a fair bit of seed to it, so it needs to be composted hot. And then we have, of course, we've got our greens just from the kitchen. I've been dumping those into one of those green cones composters, but that's not going to last long. That's got to be moved into the yard. Right now it's in the fenced dog yard, so it's right off of our deck, but it was just for winter. So now I need to get that out into a compost heap. And then we've also got pine shavings in the deep litter method in our chicken coop. So that's full of poop and pine shavings. And then I've got the straw and it's full of poop and vegetable scraps. And then I've got the vegetables, and all of that's got to be put all together in one place. And I want it someplace where we can get the tractor in, lift it and shake it so that it dumps, get in there and lift it again and shake it, or lift it and move it over to the other bin and get that turned and get that moving and just keep it aerated and all of that. And I'm going to have tarps. I've got tarps I can put on top of it. It's very similar to structure to char cloth, increased surface area. Well, I know what char cloth is. If you've watched any of my really old videos, I know what char cloth is. And CR, you've been around that long. Biochar is inoculated housing for microbes, basically 300 years at one time application for soil health. Well, and Leanna says, watch Gardening in Canada. Ashley is a soil scientist. She explains a lot about biochar. I see Leanna knows Ashley too. I've been putting the wood stove ashes and charcoal on the garden all winter. We're going to have to build. My son's coming. We're moving a wood pile, so I'm sure we could come up with some ash. Unfortunately, there was some garbage wood burned in the fire pit last year, and I'm sure there's some chemicals left over. So we're going to have to get rid of the garbage ash before we can start burning the good stuff. I'd like to have some of the good stuff, some wood ash to put in the bottom in the chicken run, wherever they dig a pit and put it in there, because the ash is very good for keeping mites off of your chickens. With diatomaceous earth and ash and some sand in their dust bath. We use a 5-gallon pail and mix part of compost, forest forage, leaf mold, and all the goodies in it and water. Let the char soak in it for a week, then apply. Oh, so that would give the microbes a perfect place to hide. Yes, Ashley lives here in Saskatchewan. And CR says, I've been following her since last year. I'm going to have to look her up. Is she the redhead? There's one woman that's gardening in Canada, and she's got lovely long red hair. Dave says, I put the wood stove ashes charcoal all winter. We have, okay, I've lost my spot here. She helped Jess on Roots and Refuge with her contaminated soil issue. Well, I missed that one. I had 50-gallon blue storage split top to bottom and mounted a blue barrel. Then I used 5-gallon pails for all the tomatoes and peppers. 5 gallons is plenty to grow in, right? 3 or 5 gallons is perfect for growing in. It may not be the most attractive, but no one visits me out here. It's just going to be mine. And whatever I share on YouTube. I found her on USask gardening online thing, I think. Okay. And yep, she's a redhead. Okay. I might have watched her videos just a couple days ago. And CR says, I follow her on Instagram too. I'll have to look her up. Hey guys, we have completed an hour. Do we want to keep going, or have you had enough of my yammering? It's good for my watch hours if I keep going. Leanna, Jane says, Leanna, I follow Ashley as well. I'm looking for bags of rabbit poop. More. Up to you, girl. Our videos on our build will be coming out soon. Building what? Will, is that building your high tunnel or a greenhouse? Because that's one of the things I'm thinking of doing. Now, I've been watching a lot of them, and I've seen the flaws in, as a creator, I've seen a lot of the flaws that people are doing when they're recording these videos. And I'd like to see what I can do to improve on that. Audio is so important, but there are other things too. Your build on making biochar, hydrolysate fish emulsion, and super soil, and the high tunnel build. Good. I also have a pile about the size of your dining room table of or the standard dining room table of manure. And it was not well composted, and it is loaded with seeds. And I am not going to put that on my garden this year, even though we could use the mass in our garden this year. I think I'm going to mostly words. I tell you, words are hard. I'm going to make a manure tea. So I will put it in a bucket and let it sit for a couple of days so it starts to bubble a little bit, filter it out, and pour that on, water my garden with that. Last night, last night or the night before, probably last night, I was chatting with, I think it was Annie's live stream from Back to Basics Homestead. And we were talking about putting eggshells on the garden. Somebody put eggshells or a whole egg in the bottom of their tomatoes, and a skunk dug it up and all of that. I grind mine in a magic bullet, the smoothie maker thing. I grind my eggshells up in that. I bake them first. And I think that might shift the chemical composition somehow, but I bake them in the oven, just 200 degrees for 20 minutes. And then I crush them, I powder them. They're not just crushed, they are powdered fine. And I put that, it's about, 3 inches away from the stem of the plant. And I just put it an inch circle around the plant. And my tomatoes did not have blossom end rot. They just had, like, out of 45 plants, 2 tomatoes had blossom end rot. And that's 45 plants. That's like, I had over 200 pounds of tomatoes. Our video on our build will be coming out soon. The biochar. Manure tea can be used for char inoculation. Older the tea, the better. Yeah, because fermenting develops different enzymes and releases different chemicals and all of that. And where are we here? I'm getting lost. Busy guy at Wickershire, Will. Yeah, the Wickershire project. His name is Bill, but the only way I can remember that his name is Bill is if I go Wickershire Will. So the word game, but it works. Yes, Ashley has red hair. We powder our shells in a cheap dollar store grinder. It breaks. We get another one for $9.99. Yeah, a coffee grinder. A crank mill might work. I haven't tried. I don't want to put it in my high-end food processor because I, paid too much money for that to be crushing eggshells. Dave, thank God you're offering to help. See you soon. Dave, are you taking a trip south? And I increased the surface area and broadcast the shells. Yeah, it helps. I really think it helps. If you have issues with blossom end rot, add calcium at the seedling stage. Helps them uptake the calcium before going into the soil. LP says, hello, everyone listening and lurking. Hello, LP. And congrats on the 1,000. Thank you so much. That was last week's or 2 weeks ago now. And I'm loving it. I'm still quite a ways away from my watch time hours. I need another 1,500 watch time hours or something, 1,300 watch time hours. But that always shifts a little as the year goes along. But it's getting better. I am much closer now than I've ever been, and I made it to 1,000. That was a huge deal for me. And 5 minutes of work to save 5 hours or 5 months of time, give or take. Yes. That's with the blossom end rot. You don't want to put in all of that effort and then lose it all at the end of the growing season because of blossom end rot. LP, where are you dropping in from? Are you Canadian or American? And what province or state are you in? We don't want to know exactly what town you're in. We just want to know a general area. Now I'm going, what else am I going to talk about? I'm supposed to be talking about my greenhouse. Okay. I didn't prepare a third segment, so let's just keep chatting. Gardening is a big topic right now. I'm kind of southern Michigan. I'm in Ontario, eastern Ontario, just south of Ottawa, and I-75 on the other side of the Detroit River at the Wickershire Wheel Project. I had stuff early spring or late fall. Yeah, amending the garden is something I like to do. In the fall, I will put on my we use a deep litter method in our chicken coop. So that is pine shavings, and they poop on it. You just stir it, and they poop on it, and you just stir it and keep going. And if it gets too damp, you put in more. But we basically put in about 4 inches in the fall. So we've taken the summer waste off. That goes right on my garden in the fall. And then in the spring, I rotate that out and I take out the winter waste. But that stuff I won't put on my garden. I put that in the composter because I don't want that manure, that fresh-ish manure burning too much nitrogen and too many raw pathogens going on my garden. That's got to go compost. So I do it 2 different ways. In the fall, it goes on the garden. In the spring, it goes on the the compost bin. Calcium needs to be the water-soluble type. If you're adding bone meal or eggshells, it takes a crazy long time to become usable. That's why I think that it helps if the eggshells are powdered rather than just crushed. They're really, really fine. And Jody says, I don't have any Mexican lettuce seeds to offer for your greenhouse. Sorry. My husband has quit using the Mexican lettuce, so it's not a thing here. My boys still indulge. But once it's in, we can assume next year it has, what is this? Once it's in, we can assume next year it has some availability. Yeah. If we put the nutrients on there this year, then we can hope, even if it's not helping this year, it can help next year. And CR says, I just chop and drop. Some like damaged plants you don't want, or not damaged, diseased plants, you don't want to just drop them. If you've got tomato blight, you don't want to just drop that back in the garden, because the tomatoes or any of the nightshade family can just pick that up again. Your potatoes, your tomatoes, your peppers. Nice. Jane says, I make fertilizer with fermenting comfrey and stinging nettle. I have not seen stinging nettle since I was about 10 years old. And I got stung by it. And that's the only time I ever saw it. We don't have any here. We have a lot of raspberries, so I watch for it to be mixed up with the raspberries, but I haven't seen any. And I don't really want to bring it in. I'm not a fan. I cannot keep a compost pile warm enough in winter and minus 30. No, that's hard to do, but it's not just composting through the winter. It's when the spring comes and you get the freeze and the thaw and the freeze and the thaw. The freezing will freeze up all the water molecules and everything. And then when it thaws, that turns to mush. So even if it's your vegetable matters out of your kitchen, especially think about an apple freezing and then thawing, or a carrot or lettuce freezing and then thawing. It turns to complete mush afterwards. And that mush will compost down very quickly once things get started in the spring. So I'm not taking stuff out of my compost. That's why I have to have two piles. One pile works for a year, and I take, I start it in the spring, and then it works all through the winter, and I take that one in the spring, but then I start the next one with fresh, and then it goes through the whole year. They say that you could compost in 30 days or 18 days. It depends on if you've got that perfect ratio and you're stirring it all the time. Oh my goodness. -38. Oh, that sounds like a down duvet and down slippers and a hat and wear a hoodie to bed. Oh my goodness. Oh, woo awesome. Yes, comfrey and stinging nettle. Now, last year at the Homesteaders Eastern Ontario Homesteaders Conference, I did get some comfrey plants. I've got 3 of them. I bought one, and then hubby bought me 2. But when I had turned my back. Does anybody have any suggestions on how that can be shipped? Can I package up a little start of comfrey if I have a sprout come up or something? Can I ship that somehow? I need to know the details on how I would do that. I think maybe I could start with a baggie with a little bit of paper towel and a damp paper towel and ship it, but it's got to be in a little box and zip it up tight and secure that. It's the only way I can think of possibly moving it, but you got to make sure it gets there fast enough so it doesn't freeze and it doesn't turn mushy. Now the shipping days, I think it took about 5 or 10 shipping days. Would it survive 10 days? Any ideas on how to ship that? Wow, Leanna, whereabouts are you? Leanna is in South Saskatchewan. Wickershire says she's at the South Pole. I layered leaves last fall where I had the sunflowers. Yeah, sunflowers you probably can chop and drop and all of that. And Wickershire says that sounds about right. And Leanna is not getting an early spring. She's -38 and a foot of snow, and we have bare grass. And the only place there is any snow is where there was a snowbank. And it's all covered with grass because it's, I can see one piece back there that's about the same size as my dining room table again. But we were 15 here today, so I was out just in the shirt sleeves today. And Dave says 4 degrees Celsius or 41 overnight. Oh, excuse me, in southwestern Ontario. Well, gosh, I hope you get spring on time at least. Yeah. Where Leanna is a very short growing season, and she's far enough north that they've got a very short growing season, and she's got to hope for the spring. And they've been suffering a drought too, so they need the moisture. Prep and remove plant from the soil. Plants are generally best shipped with bare roots instead of in their pots. Yes, I was thinking bare root. Wrap the roots in moist paper. Place the plant in a sturdy box. Yeah, I was thinking in a baggie with a little bit of air so that it's maybe 2 baggies. Maybe one that's the moisture and the leaf and everything secured, and then another baggie around the outside of it filled with air so it doesn't move around as much. Or, like where they pack the Amazon packages, they put little air bladders in the box with them. Maybe save some of those to keep it from shaking around too much. Please spare some heat to me and Leanna. Thanks. On it. I'll send some your way. Oh, winter has been too long. I'm going to try Ildi and something saucer tomato varieties. I've never heard of saucer tomato or ildi. What is ildi? Good thinking on the 2 bags. I understand. This year, I'm not really trying any new crops. That's a fib. I bought seeds last year for sorghum, also called broomcorn. And I bought seeds for sunflowers, but I'm sure sunflowers are pretty basic. And this year, I've been working with catgrass for my chickens. I just actually right here behind me. Give me a second. So I just put a little bit of soil in this tray, and it's just one of those deli trays. I think we got it from Costco with some ready to serve meal. And I've been growing catgrass. I just cut this today, and it's already grown half an inch since I cut it, but I just chopped it up and I gave it to my chickens. They loved it. Catgrass is actually oats. And I have a couple more packets of seeds, and I would love to grow oats. So I'm going to just give it a whirl, just give it a little try, a little patch, and just see just to recognize the plant and handle it and smell it and taste it and all of that. Oh, that's chicken love. Yes, that's chicken love, because we've been under so much snow for so long that they need something green. I mean, we give them vegetable scraps out of the kitchen, but sometimes they need just something green. Last year I harvested beets, and I love beet greens, but I didn't get to them before they started to wilt. So I just chopped them up small, and I threw those in a baggie, and I wrote chicken feed on the outside of the bag. So they're getting beet greens. I also harvested Brussels sprouts, and I brought the whole plant in, and I didn't notice that the plants were just covered in aphids. So I took those and I chopped that all up real small, and I threw that in a bag, and every now and again I'll take a handful out of the freezer and put it in their ferment, and then they're getting fresh greens that way. But it's been frozen. Wickershire says, really, we do have one package of catgrass. It is oats. And that could be sunflower microgreens, Karen. Yes. I don't know if I can give them mung bean greens. I have alfalfa. I have quinoa microgreens. I've got all kinds of them. I haven't been growing them for myself because I suck at it. But if I put them on some soil, the chickens can have it that way instead of trying to put them in the jar with the screen and everything. I'm bringing stinging nettle for Remy on May 4th. I'm resistant on stinging nettle. I'm not sure if I'm just not sure what I think about it. I know it's very nutritious for us. It's great for us medicinally. But and last year I found out that goldenrod is fantastic for us medicinally. And I quite enjoyed that. Leanna was here for a visit for a couple of days, and we went and harvested a whole bunch of things and put them in the dehydrator on the lowest setting. And goldenrod is one of the ones, and microgreens in about 10 days. Nope. Made beet green, and everyone left the house once the boil began, even me. Really? They smell bad? Were they sugar beets or something? We just love them. It's like, I just love them. It's like spinach. My mom used the beets and gave me beet greens when I was a kid, and I still love them. Put a little touch of like butter and salt and a touch of vinegar on them. Oh my goodness. And oh wait, it says catnip. Same thing? No, catnip is part of the mint family. It might actually be a furry leaf, and it's sort of a diamond shape. But cat grass it's a grass. You can sometimes buy them in the grocery stores here. They're in a little square container, and they're just loaded with the grass. They call it pet grass as well. Stinging nettle is great for arthritis. There you go. They were stinky. They do have a high iron content, so maybe you were picking up that. With 1,000 sunflower seeds, you can spare 900 for other reasons. Yes, I can feed my chickens raw or like whole sunflower seeds, or I can sprout them. Permapasture shops comfrey in the U.S. The root pieces ships. Oh, okay. There's some things we can get across the border, some things we can't. Okay, catnip and catgrass are two different beasts. Yes, they are different beasts for sure. I threw some catnip seed out in a spot, hoping that it would land in the soil. You know, I had to go through some grasses and stuff and land in the soil, and it didn't. Okay, Sandra says, I have to walk my Lily. Night all. Sandra has a dog she's got to take out for a walk. And the dog lets you know when she's got to go out. It's been so nice here the past few days. We took the insulation off of our doggy door. We did not install the doggy door. It was here when we got here. And we have a completely fenced backyard. I'm sure if a raccoon wanted to come in, they'd have to climb the fence and have a lure reason to come in. But we have not even seen a raccoon around here. We did have a paw print on our just like that, on our chicken coop, but we haven't seen hide nor hair of them anything else. I'm going to have to get my trail cams up. I think we have moles, but I have to get the trail cams up. And if they are there, where I showed in a video recently where I've got these mounds outside of my fence line, if they were there, I don't know if they're there still because there's been no changes to the tunneling or to the mounds or anything extra there. We do have three stray cats that wander around here, so they may have taken them already. CR Will says, CR, we are growing the Russian mammoth gray stripe here. Chance to win $100. Billy, I grew one 18-inch flower head, 1,000 seeds at least. Crazy. And Leanna says, oh, I just bought the mammoth. We had 8-foot tall flowers, but maybe 7-inch heads, gray stripe. Oh, okay. You guys, I have to get my sunflowers in the ground this year. I don't know what kind of soil conditions they require or where I might put them, but I'm definitely going to get them in the ground this year because I can always dry those heads. And as long as I can keep them in an area where the mice won't get them, I'll dry those heads and have sunflower seeds for my birds all winter. I particularly want the black oil sunflower seeds because they're very good for the chickens. They're very good for the fat content is really good for them to stay warm. What is Ildi? I have no idea what Ildi is. Richard Perkins grows Ildi, yellow cherry, 30 to 50 per stem. 1 kilo fruit for the X saucer. Oh, sunflower plus compost equals success. No brainer. Okay. So maybe I should just put them in that manure pile that I'm struggling with. Ildi. I'll have to do a quick Google here. What is Ildi? Ildi tomatoes. Ildi tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes. A yellow cherry tomato. They look like a little yellow grape. Indeterminate, 54 days to maturity. Ildi is a truly special, early maturing cherry tomato. Nice. If I can grow them in heavy clay soil, you can grow them. We have beautiful soil here. The neighbor guy told us that the soil down in our lower acre is as rich as the Holland Marsh, which is pretty darn rich. That's down towards Niagara Falls. And the soil is dark and soft. There is enough sand content that we get good drainage, but there's enough loam to it that it doesn't wash away. It doesn't blow away. It holds roots really well. And it holds enough water for, a day. but I think I'm pretty sure that area has a very high water table on the lower acre because there's a huge puddle on it right now. Mammoth sunflowers equals shade. Right. CR, you did mention that. You set up a bunch of the mammoth sunflowers as a shade spot. So that would be something I could do. Not just private, not specifically for privacy, but to set up a shady spot. CR's on point. Okay, well, I'm going to have to consider that. And if I put in 3 or 4 rows of them, that would provide even more shade. Okay. Mammoth sunflowers. I don't know what type I've got. My seeds are actually underneath of my laptop right now. My little suitcase is like right there. But if I put my laptop on the countertop, then you're looking up my nostrils, and I really didn't want to do that. Didn't want to suffer. Didn't want you guys to suffer with that. We are at 9:30. We've got an hour and a half, guys. Thank you so much. And there are 9 people here. I don't know what we maxed out at, but that's awesome. That adds up quickly for me. Sunflowers. I have, like I said, I wanted to do the black oil sunflowers, and you're suggesting the mammoth. I'm thinking, should I put them on the east or the west or the south? I have to figure that out now. I'm going to write that down. Sunflowers. What was that other? Where's my other note? And it was for solar fans. And this is for mammoth sunflowers. Equal shade. That's awesome. I'll work on that. And Will says, I did plant peas and vining beans under the sunflower stalks, but the chickens had a day at them. Oh, yes. Question. Who here has grown the 3 sisters or 4 sisters method? Russian mammoth, gray striped are 4 boasting points. Does anybody here grow the 3 sisters? That would be corn, beans, and squash. And the 4th sister, which some people include, is sunflower. But you grow them on a mound so that the corn is in the middle, and the beans will vine up the corn and the beans will vine up the corn. I'll try this again. You wait for the corn to get about 8 to 12 inches tall. Then you put your beans in, and they're runner beans or vining beans, and they will vine up the corn. And after the beans have started to get established, you put in the squash, and then the squash will cover the whole mound and keep the moisture in and keep the weeds down. She's just excited. Yes, excited gave me the hiccups. Corn doesn't grow very well here. Why, Leanna? Do you know why? I wonder if you created a very specific bed just for corn without considering whatever grows in the neighborhood. Very specifically develop a bed or a raised bed or a mound or something, and get some of that. You'd have to probably tend to the water on it, though. 3 Sisters is fantastic for the average backyard garden, not recommended for any type of market garden style setup. Well, market gardeners have gone over this many times. If I was doing a market garden, I would definitely go for a production model. But I could still go for the production model and have my own pleasure growing area as well, especially since I have, so much land here. We only have 1.86 acres, but the way that it's designed is that 3/4 of an acre down the hill is just completely flat, and I can do whatever I want. I can grow a whole garden down, a whole market garden down there. And that what we are growing doesn't even go to the edge of the property. We've left 15 feet on each end of that garden that could still be grown. You could grow a lot of space, a lot of things in a 15 by 40 foot area. They need lots of water. And impacts max yield. Yes. So because it needs lots of water, that's why having a specific soil mound just for your corn. That's where the squash comes in too, because the squash will shade the ground and keep it from evaporating. And you just go in and you would water right in the middle of the mound, and it would spread out. And you can build your mound also so that it's mounded, but then it's got a little dip in the top of it, like a crater in the top of a volcano. And then water will come out all the way around. And I just saw a video recently. It was Jess on Roots and Refuge. And I think it was Jess on Roots and Refuge. She was just showing her swells. I've heard a lot of people call them swales, but she walked by, and it was a perfect demonstration of how they're shaped and how they will work. And we do have some hilly areas here. I think that might be a great way for us to retain some water. Oh, Carastu is here. It was Jess. Had a choice to become a market style gardener. I chose off-grid gardening in the wild woods because I agree. I need to enjoy and have fun growing. Well, we're a kilometer from the main road through here, so we won't get much traffic. And then not only are we a kilometer from the main road, we're also 500 feet, 450 feet from the road, the dirt road. But we're on a lane that goes down to feed some cottages. And if we could get some veggies out there on Friday night, Saturday morning, we might be able to get the cottage sales. And if I was going to do a farmer's market or something like that, I don't have the energy to do a huge market garden right now. I don't have the skills to do a huge market garden right now. It's a nice dream, but I'm not getting any younger. And I'm going to just grow with what I've got right now. And if we've got stuff on a Friday and a Saturday, I'll put them out there and support my neighborhood. They can go to the cottage with fresh vegetables. They can go home on Sunday, take some fresh vegetables home with them. And knowing that they're, exactly where they came from. Wife also mentioned she didn't want a sun up to sundown life. Yes. A friend of mine, her husband was, what do you call him? He was a gardener. He had greenhouses, and his was a commercial greenhouse. And a sun up to sundown. He was working. He came home. He'd have a sandwich and a soup, and he'd go right back across the yard to the greenhouses. And they did that for more than 10 years, and they've changed their lives since then. And he doesn't garden at home at all. I saw her swales too. Great idea. They are called swales, right? That's a swale of an idea. It's a swell idea. Yeah, you just a mound of soil to catch the runoff from the hills. We almost began the swales at the permaculture 30-acre co-op in Virginia. Tons of work turning the hills into terraces. Depends on how big the hill is and how, 30 acres is pretty big. Hers were just probably like somebody's backyard size. And then she had the swales all across this section. It depends on the steepness of the hill and how large it is. And there's a lot of things like that. I could take advantage of it on a specific spot where I have long rows and then a couple of short rows and then a couple of longer rows. I could put it right because there's a hill right in the middle between the two sets of long rows. I could put a swale in there and grow out of the swales. But I was thinking about putting squash in there and just covering that area with squash so that there's something there. I have a pile of cardboard saved up over the year. I was going to use last year and we didn't use it, and I've got it ready to go. It can go on our gardens this year. It can go in my greenhouse if I don't get the landscape fabric, and we'll figure it out. There's a lot to do. And I think the furnace must have just turned on or something. This house has been really hot all day. I don't get it. I've been cold all winter, and now we turned the furnace down and it's hotter in here than ever. Can changing the furnace filter make your furnace run hotter? We had some of those really thin, wispy furnace filters, and just yesterday, Dan put on one of those really thick allergy furnace filters, and it seems like the furnace is running hotter than ever. Once our partner gave up, he was pushing 80. We sighed in relief and took our buyout. Pass the heat. You guys want the heat, don't you? Watermelons did great at the co-op. At Time Off-Grid Tiny Home, we did poorly last year. It's just one zone down. Yeah, it's funny how you might need a different type of seed, a different type of plant, like baby watermelons and jumbo watermelons and pink versus red or yellow. They all might do differently in different zones. It's not just about the zone, though. It's about how long your growing season is too, right? So, and how hot. The zones are more about what your frost temperatures are like, but how hot is it? Try sorghum instead of corn. Growing poor soil, but days to harvest may be too long. There you go, Leanna. Try sorghum instead of corn. They grow better in poor soil, but the days to harvest might be too long for you. You'll have to look. If you have a use for sorghum. I've been watching Hickory Croft Farm, and they've been harvesting the weeds. They've been harvesting millet, and they've been harvesting curly dock, and they've been harvesting lamb's ears. And the chickens love lamb's ears. So if you can recognize what that is when you pull them out of your garden, they're fantastic for the chickens, but we can eat them too. We can eat them like lettuces, or we can eat them like greens, like in a soup or a stew or a stir fry or something. And Leanna says she has about 90 growing days. So that means anything that's longer than 90 days, you have to start in the house. You have to start ahead of time. Corn is difficult to start like that unless you put it in peat pots, large peat pots, and get like 2 or 3 in a large peat pot and put it in the ground. Grow sorghum. I'll brew the beer. Someone else grow the hops. I smell a new partnership. I think Remy is just finishing or just recently been growing, brewing wine. I think he was doing some wine. Have any of you done kombucha? I grew some and I quite liked it. I was having probably too much. That might be what the problem was. I was having some, probably half a cup, maybe even a cup every day. And I was loving it. It was working great for keeping my heartburn down, but I started having asthma attacks. So I figured, do I want to breathe or do I want to have heartburn? And my gut, I could use it for my gut health, but I still have the SCOBY. The SCOBY Hotel is thriving. It's got a great big mat on it that's about 3 inches thick, and I love it. So I drink it. I know how to make it, but I have not made it. Yes, black tea and sugar. And boiled water. You want to brew the tea, double strength, like 8 tea bags in a liter of water or a quart of water. And then Yeah, the dilemmas at times, right? The stupid health issues. Um, so with kombucha, you brew about 8 tea bags in a liter of water, and you'll take, I don't know how much sugar. I'd have to get the recipe out to tell you how much sugar, but you dissolve some sugar in some hot water, and you've got your starter SCOBY and SCOBY liquid. You don't have to have it. You can start from scratch, but it really gives it a boost if you've got that mother, that SCOBY symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. That's what SCOBY stands for. And yeah, it is pretty gross. It's got to slosh it around. So gross. It's like a booger. I don't know how else to describe it. It's slimy and it's thick and it's in liquid, and you pick it up and it slips out of your fingers, but it creates a fantastic drink that is extremely healthy for you. And I was losing weight while I was enjoying it, and I was it was so good. Now, I don't know. Jody says heartburn responds well to calcium, magnesium tablets chewed. I'm taking magnesium every day. It's not making a difference. Plus, just there's something serious going on with my gut I need to figure out. It reminds me of slimy shark cartilage. Well, I've never seen shark cartilage, but that probably sounds about right. Sierra says, I feel less hungry. Yeah, we're not talking about food here. Sometimes we do. Sierra, I'm also on board with that. It's delicious. It really is delicious. Now, talking about food, CR, I just did a jam video. Did you see my mixed berry jam video? I made a low sugar jam, and I have a son who's diabetic, type 1 diabetes, and I'd like to give my kids jars of my home canned food, and this is, knowing that this is lower in sugar, he can enjoy it. Still has to limit it a little bit, but he can enjoy it a little bit. And today I made another one. It is carrot cake jam, and it's in the normal ball canning cookbook, but the ball recipe calls for 6.5 cups of sugar. And the one that I made only calls for 2.5 cups of sugar. LP, thank you for hanging out. I hope to see you join us another time. Have a great evening. Oh, we're approaching 2 hours, guys. Let's go for 15 more minutes, and I'll have done my first 2-hour live stream. And my first kombucha was straight brew. Oh, that vinegar mouth smash. I keep looking at them thinking, okay, I have to swallow this, but it feels wrong. We don't keep the SCOBY in there. The SCOBY goes back into the tank and it brews the next batch. And if it tastes like vinegar, then you probably brewed it for too long. Jane says, good night. Good night, everyone. See some of you May 4th. I'll see you on May 4th, Jane. Please step up and make sure that you introduce yourself. I'll be there. I'll probably be wearing a shirt with my logo on the front of it, my little rooster. I'm talking better as this thing goes on. Maybe I lost some nervousness, or now I'm just swinging instead of, swinging from my hip instead of trying to follow some kind of points and some kind of script. I am losing my voice, though. Oh yeah, it reminded me sort of like cider vinegar. No, ours is not that bitter at all. I pull my kombucha after just a week. It's just 5 days if it's the heat of the summer, but usually about 7 days. You can take them for 2 or 3 weeks if you want to, but I didn't want vinegar, and I didn't want that tartness. I liked mine pretty mild. It still had a sweetness to it too. Excuse me. I don't know how long it keeps in the fridge though. And mine's been in the fridge for quite a long time. I should actually look at my SCOBY and see if it needs, my SCOBY hotel, and see if it needs some moisture. I should try again and see if I have a reaction. We made it almost to 2 hours. I got to keep going just for a few more minutes. Is kombucha always bubbly like champagne? Mine's it's a little fizzy, but it's not like real fizzy. This had a real fizzy feel. Yeah, yours was pretty fermented, I'm guessing then. Mine was just mildly fizzy. And you can do a thing they call a second ferment, which is where you would ferment it with just your SCOBY and your tea, and then filter that off of the SCOBY and put it into another jar with fruit. And then you let that fruit ferment for a little bit, like a couple of days, and then it'd be like soda. So if you put strawberry in it, or if you put peppermint in it, that's one I've heard of, but strawberry for sure. Banana, just something that's got a natural sugar to it, and it'll ferment further and give you almost a soda type flavor. That one is Homesteading Family with Josh and Carol and Thomas. She goes into that and makes a homemade soda basically for her, and her kids love it, apparently. Oh, excuse me. Now I have the hiccups again. Pardon me. Our next try was way better. Blueberry, raspberry, and herb infused. Loved it. Okay, so there you go. The mints would be perfect in that for herbs. Maybe some lavender, lemon balm, lemongrass. There is, for those of you who do food channels, like 8 more minutes at least at yeast. There is a challenge going out right now. I think the guy's name is Garden TV or something like that. The channel name is Garden TV or Gardener TV. And he's doing a YouTube challenge for herbs. He wants you to go all summer long. On the 5th and 25th of the month, you start herbs from seeds. There has to be 10 different herbs. You start from seeds and you show your videos all summer long. I don't know what the end result of the challenge is. I don't know if there's a giveaway involved or not, or if it's just a challenge for the sake of challenging yourself to see what you can do. Now, in the bushcraft community, there were always challenges. There were one stick fire, and there was feather stick challenges, and overnight challenges with the only taking what you could carry in a bush pot, and a 2-liter pot, and all kinds of things like that. But I don't see challenges like that as much in the homesteading community. My favorite kombucha is cranberry or pomegranate. Sour cherry was overpowering. Oh, the sour on top of the sour. I have trouble swallowing that one. Oh, 7 minutes and counting. Come on, guys. I need something else to talk about. Okay. I'm having trouble swallowing. I gotta stop talking here soon. I think a hot cup of tea would be good for me. I appreciate all of you who have come and joined me tonight, and I'm just going to keep chatting for a few more minutes. I appreciate it. And let's see. I'm not doing kombucha. I made some homemade cookies recently, since we're talking about food. Oh, they did have elderberry listed, but was always out of stock. Yeah, elderberry is pretty cool. I have some elderberry plants here. I should take some tree cuttings, some branch cuttings, and start some extras and stick them in different places on the property. That would give another fruit tree, and I can stick those anywhere on the property as long as they're getting sun, and let them grow wild. The deer haven't touched them. And I had some baby plants here and the deer didn't touch them at all. So that's a good thing. I know that Stacy, Doug and Stacy. Anyways, I can't remember. Doug and Stacy did a thing, a video. Oh my goodness. Doug and Stacy did a video on taking cuttings for your elderberry. And I think that 1870s homestead just did one, like just very recently. So I'll look into that. I can get those started and plant myself 10 more. I think that some of the plants I bought for elderberries were actually, you're not supposed to propagate them. But out here, who's going to know if I propagated them or if I bought them? Right? It was 3 years ago. If you ever get a greenhouse, I'm thinking about coffee plants. There you go, coffee. Good lively chat, Karen. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, time, and love. Love you. Have a great night. Thanks for hanging around, Jody, and everyone else that's been on. I'm down to 5 minutes left to get my 2-hour mark, and that gives me, if there's been 8 to 11 people here, that's 16 watch hours. That's awesome. It helps me to build that watch hours and gets me that much closer to monetization. I don't think I can do a 2-hour chat every week, but this is it tonight. Next week, I don't have my topic chosen yet. I'm going to work on that. I do have to do some seed starts this week, and that will probably be a video. And I'm doing my jam videos and part of that March canning madness so that I can just keep being part of a larger community and have my channel seen by the wider audience that are coming from, someone's got 20,000 or 120,000 audience, then they are going to, and they're putting my video on their playlist, that gets me seen. I had a video that was not doing so great. It had like 50 or 60 views, and the trajectory was really like pretty dull. And I changed my thumbnail and it just went spiked right up. And I'm just like, yes. Sometimes you just got to do the right thing to make things change. Wickershire Will, do you have a channel? I haven't seen any of your videos. I'm going to have to pop over and have a look at your videos. Candy roaster squash and all freaky type of melons are our focus this year. Because we're expanding so much, I think I'm going to continue working on the things I've already worked on, but definitely sunflowers now. Thanks, CR. Definitely working on sunflowers. And the sorghum. I want to give that a try and see what we can come up with. Does anybody have ideas of what we can talk about next week? Any suggestions? No promises. Wickershire Project Off-Grid has been on YouTube since 2019 or 2020. Okay, I'm going to have to go over to your channel and see what you've got going on there. I'll tell you, I haven't been there yet. So I will check that out. I'm going to actually make myself sunflowers. Yes, sunflowers. Wickershire, visit Wickershire Project Off-Grid. There we go. Sunflowers. All right. And 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. And my dog's coming up here behind me. Let's have time with Lily. Lily, come here. Up. Nope, she's going to the bathroom. Outside doggy door. Oh, she doesn't want me right now. She wants outside doggy door. Go outside doggy door. And she's going to ring the bells. She should go out the doggy door. Yeah. This house is so cool. It's got a doggy door built in right next to the deck. And then in different parts of the house, there is a pass-through that's smaller than a doggy door. It's actually a hole right through the drywall with a nice little wooden frame on it. And there are two of them. One of them goes into a closet under the stairs, and another one goes into the laundry room. And I think that they had a cat and a dog. I'm sure they had a cat and a dog. And I think the pass-through was for the cat. So the cat's food was in the laundry room, and the cat's litter box was in the closet under the stairs. And that way they were able to keep the dog out of both. And if the cat needed to get away, the cat had a space to get away. When we came to see the place, you could tell, well, when we moved in, you could tell they had a medium to large size dog. And when we came to see the place the first time, there was a cat. So we know that they were here. Aside from the evidence of the dog that we found in the yard. All good, fair warning. We do not have the funds to pay for your therapy bills, but welcome to the crazy that is the Shire. Yes. Well, here in Ontario, you can get some therapy for free. What? Go outside, doggy door. You want up? Up, up? Come here. Come here, silly puppy. We talk about solar, water filtration, gardening, building nuclear batteries, helping other off-gridders, tiny home builders, and we do lives. I hate doing lives. Let's pause and yeah, this is Miss Lily. She is 13, but I keep telling people her superpower is her cuteness. She's a cutie, but she will turn on you. She will turn on another dog. Dan's sister posted a dog that's up for adoption in the Ottawa area, and it's the cutest little terrier. But I can't have other dogs with Lily. She's not good with them. And we made it, guys. 10:01. We made it for 2 whole hours. And at that point, I'm going to say, okay, take care, everyone. See you. I'm losing my voice. I need to go get a couple of lozenges going on. Maybe a tea with some honey. Thank you for hanging out, everyone. I appreciate that you all stuck around for as long as you did. And I will see you next Monday. Have a great evening. Oh, we'll still talk in 6 months. We'll be free up from the 3-year shed to house payments. Things will go a lot smoother. Good night, everyone. Much love. Good night. Bye.